and they're gonna join me now. Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Hi guys, how are you?
Very, very
we're
well.
doing pretty good.
You look like you got some good sunshine happening over there.
It's my lighting.
Oh, is it? Okay. You could have just said it was the
Because
San Diego sun.
yeah, it's not the sun.
It
The afternoon. Yeah.
looks good.
So it's morning over there, right?
Yeah,
It's 9:20.
yeah.
Wow. So I've been reading lots of your posts like the other day because I was thinking I need to see who am I speaking to, and also I learned so much about what you guys have been doing. So maybe you can tell me, how did you start fasting, or
Hmm.
just tell me about what you do, basically.
Yeah, so I'll start us off because
Yeah, it all kind of started with Sinclair.
starts with
So
my journey. But yeah, so we've become really passionate about healing the body, and it's because for me, about 10, 12 years ago, I started having a lot of health issues kind of out of the blue. And I tried all the conventional ways to fix them. You know, I basically had a bulging disc, which is really common, bulging lower back disc, L5S1. And I did all the conventional things. I went to the osteo, the chiro. I did all this physical work on my body, and it wasn't until probably like a couple years into that and I just was like, nothing's working. I was like, I'm gonna have to get surgery. And then I finally learnt about healing the body from the inside out. And so I went down this massive path of like eating paleo. I actually ate a paleo diet for about 8 years.
Wow.
I'm vegan now, which you probably know, but
Mm-hmm.
I ate like grass-fed meat, pasture-raised eggs. I ate all these foods.
you used to literally have like a butcher in
Yeah.
the fridge.
Wow.
I
It
was
was,
like,
it
that was
was-
my
it was
religion.
intense.
That was my religion at the time, whereas my religion now is totally different, obviously. But yeah, I did that for like 8 years, and kind of nothing really got any better. And then I learned about fasting. I was 28 years old. This was 4 years ago, and I went to take this retreat with this man. His name's Tyler Tolman in Bali, and he started talking about fasting. And he was talking about how animals in nature, when they get sick or they're injured, they intuitively know how to fast. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, yeah, I've actually done that before. Like when I've been sick before, I had gastro when I was about 12, and I didn't eat for like about 5 days. I just didn't want to eat. All I did is just spend 5 days on the toilet, you know,
Wow.
and like, and I realized like, yeah, it was a wow. And I realized like that was my body, like just telling me, don't eat, you need to like stop putting food in and heal. So he's talking about fasting, and I was like, all right, I want to go and try this. So I went and did a 19-day water fast about 2 months later, and all the pain that I've been dealing with for almost 10 years, after literally 10 days, was gone. My skin was completely healed. I'd lost quite a bit of weight, and I looked skinny. People freaked out when they saw me, but like it was the healthiest I'd been in probably my whole life, to be honest.
Wow.
And you know, that experience was just 19 days of me eliminating plaque, parasites, all this waste coming out of my body that like would have just freaked people out. But every time I did it, it was just like I felt better and better and better, and that kind of put me on the path. And you know, I realized one fast isn't quite enough to undo a lifetime's worth of partying and drugs and all the crap that I was eating. So it's just now become a part of something. I've become part of my lifestyle and something I'm really passionate about sharing. But Saxon jumped on board, obviously, for the one we did.
Yeah, I saw him do the big fast, the 19-day one, and he told me all about it. Told me like the results he had, and you know, I saw firsthand the journey he'd been on, and like the path that he'd walked to get there. And so when he told me he was out of pain and he felt good, I was like, all right, we might be onto something here, and did my own research.
Yeah, something is working.
Yeah, something's working here. So I did my own research and liked what I read, and all kind of made sense to me. So I started, you know, experimenting a little bit with fasting intermittently, bit of like, you know, extended like 2-3 days, and then yeah, we ended up just doing 20 days about
Wow.
a year later.
So did you both start with 20 days fasting?
No, I mean, I did a little bit before that. I did like, you know, a 3-day and a 5-day fast, like spread out over time. And then, yeah, we decided to do a big 20 days on water, 20 days on juice, which is what we did about a year and a half ago now, which is, holy shit, it's a while ago.
That's amazing. Yeah, I remember in 2017, I started my page and I did a 3 days water fast, and some girls sent me your page at the same time. When you were just starting with your journey and your process, you sent it to me and I'm like, oh, wow. And so when I did my 3 days water fasting, it was very challenging for me. But now I know that after you pass the 3 days, it actually becomes easier, right?
So have you done longer than 3 days?
No, I'm so scared.
Yeah. Have faith.
Yeah. Like, you know what? It's the first 3 days can often be the hardest. And like the big one that I just did last year, some of the hardest of the days that I had in the whole 40 days was in the first 5 days. And then once I got past that, it was the days sort of just rolled into the next. And there's no real telling, to be honest. The first 3 days you go through this process of like transitioning from your sugar, energy and glucose and glycogen to your ketones. And that can be a bit uncomfortable, but then something can come up on any random day. And that's where the body's getting into like
as you start to release like toxic parts of your body, like, you know, whatever it might be, things that are lodged in your colon, wherever it might be, your body will start to then feel it because it's processing it and getting rid of it. So like there's no formula to know how you're going to feel on any day. You know what I mean? Like every day is going to be different.
Like, to give you a good story from my very first fast, you know, I'd never done any fasting before, right? I hadn't even done a day, and I was just like, but I was committed to doing this. I was only supposed to do 7, and it ended up getting extended. But on day 10, I felt so rough and I just felt so shitty, and I thought I'm gonna break this. I would have broken it I was in Mexico, by the way, by myself, but all the shops were closed, so I couldn't actually break the fast. So I was like, I'll wait till the morning. The morning came and I still felt like crap, but I thought I'll do an enema and see if I feel better. So I won't go into too much detail about it, but the enema, basically, I passed a bunch of worms. I had about 6 worms come out of me.
Oh, wow.
And like immediately after that, I felt better, like so much better. And I kept going. So like these things can happen on any day. You can have all kinds of things come up. Like if you had an injury as a 10-year-old and it never healed properly and you go and do a fast, well, every day of a water fast is roughly peeling back a year of your timeline. So you might get on day 10 or whenever, and you get to that point where the body's now accessing the injury that never healed properly, and all of a sudden that injury flares up and you're like, whoa, that's exact pain that I felt when I was 10.
My hip, my knee, or whatever it is, like your body will feel it, will break down all the scar tissue that may be around it, and then will heal it properly without the need of like medication, without stress, without all the things that may have like stopped it from healing properly in the first place. So yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like for me, I think seeing actually the things that come out from the body, it's such an incentive to do it, to continue, because you can see like what is coming out and like, oh, this is crazy.
So we were getting, when we were doing ours, we were getting colonics. And so, you know, we're going in, obviously having some water flushed up the backside, and like you can see what's coming out through through this little glass pipe. They show you what's coming out, and it's like there would be like this black tar, sludgy stuff coming out. This is after like 17 days, 18 days of not eating anything. So realistically, you would think you're like, what's there to come out, because there's nothing going in. So everything that's coming out is already there before we did the fast, from potentially, you know, years and years. And you'd see this stuff coming out. It's black, it's disgusting. It's like parasites coming out. And again, you're watching that and it's like, it's confirming for you doing it. It's like, all right, that's what we want. You know, that's why we're doing this to get that stuff out of us.
So do you recommend doing the colonics or no?
I think if you have access to it, it's not necessary. I don't think it's necessary, but if you have access to it, yeah, it's definitely something that's worthwhile every few days.
Okay.
It depends. I think. I think it depends a lot on how you feel as well. Like, if you're feeling really shitty during a fast, then it's because a lot of that shit is actually moving, and but it's not being eliminated. So an enema is a great place to start. It's a lot cheaper, but yeah, the colonics can be a little bit aggressive. Like, sometimes people feel worse after a colonic, and that's when it's like, it's a little bit of a toss up. Is it worth it? And I think the enemas are a good way to do it a bit more gently. And if you get someone, we got really lucky when we did our fast together. We when we did it in the mountainside, we had a place we drove to about 45 minutes away, and we found a hydrocolon therapist who did a lot of fasting herself, and she knew exactly what we were going through. She was really good at her job. A lot of people aren't. In fact, I've never found anyone that good. So yeah, if you find a really good one, I recommend it. Otherwise, I just think doing it at home.
Yeah, I don't know if I really trust that process, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's not a natural process, basically.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
A question that I get a lot, but I'm not an expert in fasting, just like you guys, but is, what is a good cleanse to start with? Like, to someone that never had done a cleanse in their life. A cleanse.
Any cleanse or fasting related? Yeah,
related to fasting or healing, basically. So, well, most people, they never did any cleanse, they never detoxed, and they just, even attempting to eat healthy, it's not necessarily the solution, because they still have all this baggage from the past, as you just described, with what was coming out of your body. So what would you suggest to someone that never had any cleanse? How to start?
So, like, one thing that we talk about a lot is there's the fastest way, and then there's the faster way, and then there's the fast way. So the fastest way is to do a water fast, like we've been talking about. The faster way to do it would be to do a liquid diet, so juicing fresh fruits and fresh vegetables. And then the fast way to do it would be eating a raw plant-based diet.
With intermittent fasting.
With something like intermittent fasting.
So it's like, you want to start small. For someone who's never done anything, it's like you want to start at the beginning. You're not going to just jump straight in, because, you know, you might find it challenging. It might work for you, and then you'll just give up on it, and then you might never try again. So we would always recommend starting at the beginning. So intermittent fasting, you know, you obviously you would know about, like, the 16 and 8 style eating, where you eat all your food within an 8-hour window, and then you fast for 16 hours, nothing but water. Start there. You know, for most people who you know, haven't done much before, they will find that challenging, because they're so used to getting up, eating breakfast first thing in the morning, dinner late at night, snacking, all that kind of stuff. So that would be a challenge for them. But yeah, starting there, and then, you know, progressively extending your fasting window to 24 hours, 2 days, 3 days, potentially doing a longer juice fast, and then, just progressively working your way up as you get more comfortable. And you definitely don't need to do a 20-day fast. That's one thing that we want to make sure everyone knows. We don't sit here and go, you have to do this in order to heal. It doesn't work like that. Like you said, that's the fastest way to heal. And everything before that is just, you know, achieving the same purpose, just at a slower, kind of more steady rate.
Got it. So a good start will be basically eating raw fruits and veggies, and also combining intermittent fasting. It will do light cleansing, correct?
And so you can cleanse with like raw fruits and veggies. Generally speaking, fruits are the best cleanser of the body, and vegetables are good as well, but they're not quite as good at cleansing. Fruits have got much more hydration, and the chemistry in fruit is really specific for the bowels, for the lymphatic system. But if someone comes off like a standard American diet, and they would even eat just like a plant-based diet, even with lots of cooked foods, then they're still going to get them. They're still going to detox and cleanse, and they might even find that really challenging. So it really depends on finding out, like, you know, firstly looking at where the person's at. It's like, what's their state of health? What's their current diet like? Because if they were to take a massive leap and go from a standard American diet to eating raw foods, they'd be like, fuck me, like, it would suck. and they're
will be
probably not going to
painful.
enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It will be painful for them, basically.
Yeah, it could be quite painful. Yeah, it could be. And they're just not going to enjoy it. And if they're not prepared for that, they might, you know, they might not be able to be consistent enough with it to actually get good results.
But how can a person actually prepare himself or herself for fasting, for 20 days of just water?
We would recommend going to a raw plant-based diet if you're not already on one, and then progressively working your way up, like going to you know, mainly fruits, like hydrating, nourishing fruits. They're going to help clean you out, and then potentially even going to juices before your water fast. The idea is to clean your body out as much as possible, so that when you actually do the water fast, your body is as like streamlined for the process as possible. You know, you don't go into it feeling heavy and sluggish, and you know, it makes the whole process a lot easier if you've done the work beforehand.
I would also add to that, if you're planning on doing anything more than 7 to 10 days, I would work with a coach, because firstly, like 20 days is a big deal. And, you know, it's not just about drinking water. It's so much more than that. It's like you were talking about, it's the preparation is a big part. And then during the actual fast, it's like, are you doing all the protocols and the daily rituals? And are you actually, is it a successful fast? And like, what makes a successful fast? Because just drinking water for 20 days doesn't make a fast successful. Like eliminating waste from the body is what makes a fast successful. So how do you actually make sure that that process is happening? And then the biggest part is the breaking of the fast.
That's the very important thing to talk about.
Yeah, because that's when you can either like undo all your good work and really hurt yourself, or you can continue detoxing and then, like, you know, you during a water fast you start building all these brand new cells. It's like you're either going to nourish them and give them what they need, or you're not, and you're going to undo a lot of the good work. So yeah, 20 days is a big deal. I recommend working with someone. We're actually not trying to plug it, but we're developing something. Okay, I'm going to plug it. I'm going to plug it. Yeah, no, because we're excited about it. Like, we're developing something at the moment where no matter where anyone is in the world, they can work with us and we can guide them on a fast. And we're only really going to offer 3 days, 7 days, and 10 days. But it basically means that you'll get all of the education, all of the preparation.
So like how to prepare, how to go through it comfortably, and like what things might pop up, how to deal with them when they do and what they mean. And then most importantly, like we just mentioned, how to break it. Because one thing that we did was we didn't plan as well for breaking the fast as we did for everything else. So when it came time to start eating food again, like we were eating the right foods, but we're just eating too much. And then suddenly, you know, we were going to bed with these big full bellies, and it's something that if we had our time over, we would probably do differently.
Yeah.
How we broke the fast.
So how should people break the fast, basically? With fruits?
Yeah, so I mean, we did 20 days on water, and then we did 20 days on juice. I think if you're going to do more than 5 to say 7 days on water, you should break your water fast with as many days on juice as you water fasted for. So let's say you do 10 days on water, we would recommend doing 10 days on juice, because that's going to help nourish your body. It's going to give it all the vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, all the stuff that it needs to rebuild those cells that you just repaired and renewed. And then it's also going to allow your digestive system to kind of wake back up, because when you fast for a long time on water, your digestive system's not doing anything, so it'll completely shut down. And then when you start kind of giving it nutrients again, it's going to take time to adjust. It's going to take time to start kind of like, you know, having to work in a sense. So
when we broke our fast, like he was just talking about, we were on the mountain and we had like a generator. We hooked the generator up to our juicer, and we sat there like just the two of us on this mountainside, like skinny as hell, and so excited to have all this juice. And we had so much stuff there to juice. We had watermelon, and it went down like an absolute treat. Like, it was the best. But then you have a sip and you just want more and more and more. So we just sat down belly full of watermelon already, but we were just like, screw it. Like, we're just
We
going
had
to
we had about 3 liters, so 20 days of nothing, and then we had about 3 liters of juice within the space of about an hour and a half, which is a
Wow.
lot.
Yeah.
Which is a lot for your average person, and like
How
we
did
haven't
you
had
have space
anything.
for that?
We didn't.
We made space.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
paid for it, like literally later that night. Again, like you learn from these kind of
Yeah.
these experiences. Later that night, we're lying in our camper. It's freezing cold. Both of our bellies are just going raw, like growling at us.
I couldn't sleep because my belly was so loud. Like, it sounded like a washing machine constantly turning over, and I was like, oh, and I just felt uncomfortable. And so, yeah. So we don't share that in our program.
Yeah.
We teach people how not to do that.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, these are the things you almost have to go through these things to understand them. And as much as you want to avoid it as possible, you know, they're all part of the learning experience. And, you know, we didn't damage our bodies or anything. We just learned.
But between us, we've obviously done a lot of fasting, and with each one comes a new experience, a new challenge. Like, you know, Cinco and I could both tell you, never trust a fart while you fast. Little tip for everybody right there.
Why?
Wait, never what?
Because you don't know if it's going to follow through or not.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, if anyone listening, make sure you never trust the fart.
Oh, got it. Oh my god. Oh yeah, I did do a cleanse, and I remember that. So.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah.
Maybe you guys can tell us more about your program. Like, what does it include?
Yeah. So let's say you wanted to do a water fast at home, but you didn't know you didn't know how, and you've never done it before, or maybe you've done it but you just want to do it differently. Basically, what it would mean is that Saxon and I would help. We would send you all the content to prepare. So you get emails, you get all the educational stuff.
So it's all pre-recorded videos of everything that we need or that you need to know. We've thought of everything. We've recorded it all. It'll be written information. Everything access at your fingertips.
Then you would also get we do group calls every week. So you jump on a group call, and then we would actually talk to the group, answer everyone's questions, and the group would be no bigger than about 10 people, so we can really help everyone and answer all their questions. And then there's also an option for one-on-one coaching throughout that time as well, where we actually just jump on a call one-on-one, and you get a chance to really dive deep. And it's something worthwhile talking about as well, is like, when you water fast, it's not just a physical detox. Like, you go into, your body starts detoxing mentally, it starts detoxing emotionally. And I think this is actually what's the most challenging thing for people. It's not necessarily just going without food and feeling hungry, because you don't actually feel hungry when you're on an extended water fast. It's more the all the emotional stuff that comes up, and the where your mind goes, and there's beauty in all of that, but there's a lot of challenge in it too. And having someone being able to really sit down, talk with, sometimes people just need to talk it out, and they need to express themselves emotionally, because verbalizing it is one way we detox from our emotional trauma. Fasting is what brings trapped emotional energy to the surface as well. So when you're doing all these things, when you're really actually consciously trying to have that experience while you're water fasting, while the body's looking to get rid of it anyway, that's another thing that we see as a really powerful tool. So being able to offer that to people on a one-on-one basis, even on a Zoom call like this, it's like, I work like this with my clients all the time. And what comes up for them in these calls, particularly when they're fasting, is like, it's huge. And they have big breakthroughs, and they cry and they release. And it's like, that's as much a part of the journey as like doing your enemas and getting rid of the plaque and the parasites, like getting rid of the emotional stuff. As you know, as most of us know, it's like, it's a big part of healing.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I realized, I was reading one of your posts about food addiction. I think you were addicted to food, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
And I realized, I do have it sometimes, which is basically the emotional eating, that when you eat not because your body is physically needed, but because you eat to satisfy a gap or something in your body.
Yeah.
I think when you fast, I think, I noticed it in Sinclair as well. and you know, perhaps you have as well, but you notice that you eat for so many more reasons other than just like, you know, to nourish your body. You eat because you're bored, angry, upset, like pretty much any emotion that we feel, human beings have now turned to food to kind of push that emotion away, you know what I mean? To not have to deal with it. You know, we don't like to we don't like to deal with our emotions. We prefer to push them away and distract ourselves, and we use food to do that.
I think for anyone who sort of doesn't make sense to, it's like the best way to learn that yourself is to go and eat a raw plant-based diet. And the reason I say that is because eating a raw plant-based diet, even in itself, is a detox, and you're going to realize really quickly that you crave food. That you crave cooked food. And the reason is because when you start that raw plant-based diet, all of a sudden your emotional crap's going to come up as well. And the only way to switch that off and turn the detox off so you don't have to feel like that is to eat cooked food. And I've realized now on my journey and all the years now that I've been doing this, I'm like, I honestly believe that the world is addicted to cooked food because we just don't want to feel the shit that we've been burying and we don't want to express. Yep. You know, and this is all the negative stuff because we as humans have no problem in expressing the positive, but when it comes to the negative, especially men don't want to, and people in general don't want to experience sadness and depression and grief and all the things that we as humans naturally go through. So it's so important when you're in those moments, like, to actually eat the foods that will help you express that stuff and not eat the foods that will bury it, because that burying doesn't help us in any way. It just prolongs the whole process, builds things up, and then when it does try to come out, whether you're fasting or not, it's going to come out in, you know, it comes out in our personality. It shapes our personality. It becomes our triggers to things and the way we react to things instead of responding calmly. You know, we become very reactive, and it's a big part of it. Getting rid of that stuff's a big part.
Just make a note that also as well, it's okay to eat cooked food for anyone listening. Like,
we love cooked food.
Yeah, obviously eat that is fine, but eating a raw plant-based diet will obviously start this detox process, which will highlight and make it, you know, quite clear how much we rely on food to get through our day-to-day life. More than just giving us energy.
Yeah, what did you say?
I say it's more than just giving us energy. It's literally distracting us from a lot of things.
Exactly. It is such a distraction. And like also cooked food is an association with comfort. Like it gives us comfort,
totally,
familiarity, family-like.
Social, massively. Family's a big one.
Exactly. So you want to feel like you're home. So you eat the shit that you used to eat with your family. But basically it doesn't help. So how would you deal with the mental challenges that come up during the fast, like emotions that come up? Do you talk about it to each other? Do you write it down? Do you journal? What do you do?
Yeah, all of the above. It's funny, like I wasn't prepared for that when I did my big fast, the 20 days. I wasn't ready for it when it came up. So like, you know, past day 10, you'd be sitting there and we did some breath work where you breathe in a certain way, and there's these techniques that are meant to bring all this suppressed energy in your body up to the front, and like it's released through like emotion, through tears and crying and laughter. And I had this experience where I was sitting there and like I didn't really buy into it initially. I was like, whatever, you know, I'll do it, but I didn't really think it was going to do much. And anyway, within about 10 minutes, I was sitting there like bursting into tears, like remembering all this shit that happened to me when I was a kid, like nothing too bad or anything like that, but things that used to make me sad that I used to like I used to not want to cry when I was young because I used to think it was like being weak, and, you know, I didn't want to be the little guy that cried. And anyway, that stuff was all coming up, and I was having these massive connections with it, releasing tears, and it was full on.
Wow, that's amazing. I'm happy I'm talking with two conscious men.
Yeah. Well, we didn't used to be like this.
Talk about their feelings.
Yeah, no, it didn't used to be like this at all. We used to be two like rugby jockheads who didn't talk about this stuff.
Meatheads.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So fasting actually helped you open up to your emotions. That's amazing.
Yeah, big time.
Well, fasting, what it does is it just brings, to give like really simply, it just, whatever the body doesn't want, like whatever is not serving the body, it'll get rid of. And that's not you know, like we're saying, not just the physical stuff, it's the mental and emotional as well. So there's a thing that we did on our fast called rebirthing. And for those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically releasing releasing emotional trauma. Sorry?
So that's what I was just talking
about. Oh, okay. Sorry. So that's what Saxon was talking about, yeah. But yeah, so I think that's probably the most challenging part, I reckon, is like I was saying, the emotional stuff. But yeah, talking about it, like you said, like just having conversation with people about it, and the right kind of people, obviously, you know, is a big thing.
The challenging part with the fasting as well is you can't hide from it. You know what I mean? Like we talked about having food. We talked about, you know, you might watch TV, you might exercise, you do things to distract yourself from all these feelings that you have and these emotions. But when you fast, it's like, especially the way we did it, we were just out in nature. Like you literally have nowhere to hide when these things all start coming up. So you just have to sit there and deal with it, which is really challenging at times. But again, when you deal with it, when you process it, and when you kind of like embrace it in a sense, like you release it, and it's like a very, very rewarding feeling.
That's beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
I want to fast now.
Awesome.
You
can join our program.
I already asked you guys about a juicer because that's how much I'm intrigued by this whole process.
Yeah.
So that's amazing.
So did you buy one or?
Not yet. I'm gonna buy
okay.
one.
Right. I'm sure your kitchen's full of gadgets.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, when we were fasting, one thing we used to do to spend a lot of time is like look at food, because it's obviously, you know, you try not to, but you're thinking about food a lot, and it actually helps to like, you know, look at delicious recipes and things like that. We used to go on your page and look at all the food you were cooking. It would always help.
You.
Yeah.
That makes me happy, actually.
You help.
You were fasting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very challenging, but when you really have the need to heal, and that's when actually people decide to make a change, only when they get sick.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We need to, I think a lot of us need to go through a lot of hardship and a lot of pain and, you know, suffering, and that sounds extreme, but these are the things we need to go through in order for us to have an awakening. And
people need to almost exhaust all the other options and come to dead ends at all the other options to turn to something like this, because they're like, I'm out of ideas, I need help. Like, you know, people don't generally, fasting and natural healing is unfortunately not usually the first stop that people come to, you know what I mean? It's usually one of the last ones, because they are failed by most other things. And then they discover this, and then suddenly it's like, holy shit, what do you mean my body can heal itself? You know, why have I been going to all these people that are trying to give me the pill and give me this? And it's like, you're telling me that I can heal myself? Like,
yeah, there's too many easy options out there for us to explore before we actually go and do the real work, which we all have to do in the end if we want to actually heal ourselves. So it's, you know, it's like most of the people I deal with, my clients are like in their 40s and 50s, and they've done like all of the different conventional methods, and they're just like, I've tried everything and nothing's worked, and then within weeks, like, of doing the protocols I give them, they're like, holy shit, like, I'm already starting to feel better. I can see my body's healing, you know? Yeah. But the earlier you get onto it, the better, you know, like, obviously the less time you spend putting pharmaceuticals into the body and eating a shitty diet, like the quicker your body's going to heal, and the younger you are, the quicker your body's going to heal in general anyway.
And that's why we would say, like, you know, you don't have to do a big fast, but doing smaller ones when you don't necessarily need to is a great idea, because, you know, it's the idea that you prevent, meaning prevent as in get rid of things before they become an issue. You know, do that, you know, routinely throughout your life, and you will stop your body from ever actually accumulating enough waste and toxicity to actually get sick and you know, have issues.
Yeah. So, like, you know, fasting, like he's saying, is a great way to reverse like a disease, or reverse whatever illness or whatever it is you're dealing with. But even if we get to a point where we're perfectly healthy, then fasting can be used kind of once a year or semi-annually or whenever, just to keep the body healthy, and potentially even see where you can take your physical body, your mental body, your spiritual body even further. Because I think that's one thing, if you trace back far, long enough, fasting wasn't even really used to prevent or to reverse chronic conditions, because we didn't really have the chronic diseases that we see now. Fasting was more used then as a means to open up our pineal gland and get more in touch with our creator and become more spiritual and broaden our mind and become more intelligent.
Because it's like, for anyone that has fasted, I'm sure you would agree, and for anyone who hasn't, when you fast for an extended period, you notice this, like, there's like a fog that lifts off your brain. It's like suddenly you're thinking with a heightened clarity, like to the point where you're like, holy shit, like, why am I not thinking like this every day of my life? You know, because again, we eat these foods and drink and party and whatever it might be, that just places this fog over our brain that doesn't allow us to fully access our potential. And when you fast, it's like you get access to that potential, and it's an incredible thing. You know, when you actually experience it, it's very, very incredible.
Have you've heard of Pythagoras?
I read about it on your page.
Yeah.
Tell us.
So Pythagoras is really well known for a lot of things, being a brilliant mind, but he did a lot of fasting, and the story goes with him is he went to came from the West, went to Egypt, and he wanted to learn from Egyptian scholars because he knew that Egyptian scholars were some of the best in the world. And when he got there, they said to him, even though he was the smartest mind, they said, you know, the only way we're going to let you into this school is if you go and do 40 days water fast. They said, because until you do that, you won't have the sort of mental acuity, or you won't have the understanding of what it takes to be actually intelligent, because he was just such an academic mind, but they wanted him to be more spiritual. So he came in after doing 40 days. He studied in Egypt for, I think it was like 7 years or 10 years. And then he took all that knowledge back to the West. And a lot of what we know now is because of what he brought back from Egypt. But, you know, so it's someone like him, and what they taught in ancient Egypt was not about reversing disease necessarily. It was really just about, like I said, becoming more intelligent, becoming more spiritual. And
some of the other minds, like, you know, we've all heard of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, all of whom fasted. And they didn't fast for health reasons. They used to say, there's quotes of them. I'm assuming they're correct. I'm assuming they are the ones who said them, because it says it out, that they fasted for mental efficiency. That's the reason they fasted. It had nothing to do with their physical body, all to do with their mind. So,
mental clarity. Wow.
Yeah, mental clarity. Yeah,
mental clarity is a massive one. Like, if people, I bet you like half the people listening now have probably experienced brain fog. Like, we've all experienced brain fog before, and like when you fast and you really clean out the body, you know, a lot of the brain fog's coming from the gut. When you start to clean all that out, it's like one of the biggest things you realize is like, wow, like I have not thought this clearly ever before. And if you fast and you do it really well, and you give yourself,
you'll have like revelations, you know, like we literally, both of us, like, came out the back of it, and I was like, wow, I know what I want to do. Because, like, you know, I was 26 going to the fast, kind of not at a crossroads, but kind of unsure of what I wanted to do with my life and the path that I wanted to go down. And I came out the back end of it, I was clear on what I wanted to do, on who I wanted to be, and I was just like, all right, let's get to work, you know.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was very good. It was quite incredible.
I'm so inspired by you guys right now.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. No, it's good fun. We love talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
So I read that actually what you guys do, you look at the eyes, right? And you can identify certain situations in the body, for example, if they're sick in some areas in the body. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, so that's iridology, and iridology is looking into the iris and the whites of the eye, or whites of the eye is called the sclera. But looking at the iris, and the iris is, it's kind of like a dashboard of a car. It tells you what's happening in the engine, and it's going to tell you if you have inflammation in certain organs. All the organs and glands of the body show up. It's going to tell you how much inflammation you've got and how long it's been there for and how serious it is. And it basically shows us like where your weaknesses are. So, you know, when someone comes to me and they say, I've got anxiety, I've got digestive problems, or I've got colitis, Crohn's, lung cancer, I've got breast, whatever it is. We look at the body and we figure out, okay, well, why, what organs and glands of the body have become weak, and why has the body lost its ability to eliminate waste? Because all sickness, doesn't matter what it is, mental, emotional, physical, comes about because the body loses its ability to clean itself. So the eyes will show us why the body's actually lost that ability, what channels of elimination, because we eliminate waste via our bowels, via our urine, via our skin, and via our lungs. What areas of the body have become weak in order for that process to slow down? So that tells us what we need to work on. And then from there, we can start putting together a protocol of what kind of foods we should be eating, what kind of herbs we should be taking, what kind of, if any, fasting is necessary, or if that person's ready for it, what areas that really need to be focused on. And once we bring back elimination to the body, that's when everything starts to get better. Like, that's when my clients are calling me like, man, I can't believe I'm having bowel movements and I'm seeing sediment in my urine and I'm feeling so much more energized and my mental fog is gone, and or like my tumor is shrinking, or, you know, all these different, yeah, like it's amazing. I had a call this morning with a guy and he's off, you know, I've posted about it in my stories, but like off all blood pressure medication in 6 weeks. Blood pressure's down to normal range. He's lost 14 kilos. This guy was like eating a pretty bad diet. He was eating himself into the grave, and now he's like set up for life and knows exactly how to heal himself. And because we've been working together for a couple of months. So, you know, it's so amazing to watch people heal in such a short space of time and just see how transformative it is for them. You know, he's like, my kids are juicing in the morning, my wife, like everyone's eating more vegetables, like, because they were Middle Eastern, big meat eaters, and just like slow changes, just making slow changes throughout the program, so it doesn't feel like overwhelming.
So if a person has a certain condition, can you create a program around this condition, basically? Do you think there's like special fruits that can heal that condition, or special herbs? Like, tell me more about that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, for sure. Like, there are different foods that target different organs. For me, I like to just focus on the organs mainly that we need to open up in order to get the body eliminating properly again. So this is like the kidneys, the adrenals, the bowels, the entire endocrine system, and the lymphatic system. So say like your citrus fruits are really good for moving lymphatic fluid. And then all fruits in general are going to be really good for the kidneys. Apples and grapes are really good for cleaning the bowels. Grapes are really good for cleaning the blood. And then the specific herbs that I like to use, have you heard of Dr. Robert Morse?
Yes.
Yeah, so I use his herbs to target like the adrenals, the kidneys, whatever organs of the body that people need to work on the most. His is amazing. You know, anyone watching this who wants to heal themselves, go to YouTube and look up Dr. Robert Morse, and he has hours and hours of content, and you will learn so much about how to heal the body. And, you know, the best part is healing the body is really simple. It can get very complex if someone is very far down the road, and bringing them back, you need to be very careful of how you do that. But for someone who's just dealing with digestive issues, anxiety, high blood pressure, you know, something that's not too progressive, it's quite simple to heal the body. It's just, we're not told, like the medical system doesn't understand it. They make everything sound really complex, and for starters, they just really treat symptoms. They're not actually treating the cause, which is the fact that the body's lost its ability to clean itself. What they treat is the symptoms of that, which are your tumors and your cysts and your polyps and the pain and whatever the symptoms of that are. They use pharmaceuticals and surgeries and things to treat that. And in some cases, that's necessary to save someone from dying. But to actually heal chronic disease, we need to go to the cause and the reason why that person's dealing. Yeah, the root of it, right? So, and like now more than ever, we've got people going into colds and flus who are dying. And instead of teaching people how to build their immune system, how to clean out their lungs, how to bring back their body's state of health, you know, people are just freaking out. And yeah, when this is like the most perfect time to actually be working on our health and making sure that like a virus is not something that our body has to deal with.
Exactly. Like I see so many people freaking out, but I don't see them. They keep buying the same food that make them sick, and
Exactly.
it's not gonna help them in building their immune system. So
you'll walk into a supermarket, at least in Australia so far we have, it's like canned beans, pasta, rice, all this like this stuff that has a shelf life of years and is not, you know, natural energetic food, is being like, you know, bought in massive hoards. People are pretty much hoarding it. And yet you go down to the fresh produce, you see all the fruits, vegetables, herbs, it's almost untouched. I've had no trouble going to the supermarket and buying fruit every day, vegetables every day. I pretty much have the pick of what I want because no one else is eating it, which is just makes no sense because we're all being told it's like, get your sanitizer, you know, get your antibacterials, and then no, don't touch each other and constantly wash your hands, which is great. You know, there's a place for that, but it's like, hey, let's focus on also making ourselves really healthy. So if you do happen to contract this virus, if you do happen to get sick, your body is in a good position to deal with it, not in, like being fed rice and beans and like, you know, all this, again, non-energetic food that's been sitting in the can or, like, you know, packaged for the last 4 years. Like,
exactly. It's feeding the disease basically, and feeding your current situation, and you're not going to change that current situation. I haven't spoken about this, like the virus, so much because I have so much I don't know, contrast ideas about it. I think many people will not agree with me.
No, you know what, we're right into it. We've dived down a few rabbit holes with all this stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all right if people don't agree with you. That's split the crowd.
Yeah, exactly. But I see there's a lot of people that are waking up and they want to heal their body naturally. So I think what you guys doing is amazing. And
yeah, the message that we spread and we're really passionate about spreading is it's not just fasting. You know, it's that like healing is our human right. You know, we all have the ability to heal ourselves, and you know, the most important thing to understand is it's so much simpler than what we're being led to understand. And when we finally do understand it and we put it into practice, it's such a quicker process than what people understand as well. You know, it does take longer for some, you know, but once we start the process, we feel the benefit almost immediately, within days, if not weeks. And then it's just about being consistent. And really what it is about creating a lifestyle and an environment and a mental attitude that that becomes your normal. And then once that becomes your normal, you not only reverse the sickness, but you never get sick again.
Exactly.
And then you live a life free of pain. You live a life with mental clarity, with physical health. And the more physically healthy we are, the more emotionally healthy we are. And then we're better able to connect with others and ourselves. And we can love others because we finally feel connected and love with ourselves. And your whole life changes from that perspective. And it's really just about focusing on yourself, firstly, because once we heal this, you know, everything outside of us starts to change. We can't change everything outside of us until we fix this.
That is very profound and very true.
I'm glad you agree.
Everything is basically is a reflection of our internal.
Of course.
Exactly.
I think too many people, they seek happiness from other people, and they seek, you know, acceptance, whatever it might be, from other people, when in reality it's like it all comes from within. If you can't be happy with yourself, you can't be happy with other people.
Exactly. So there's actually a psychological connection to what we put into our body. That's amazing.
Yeah, totally.
So
we're always in control.
Yeah, you have so many fans on my page, or maybe it's your
hey fans
as well.
Come over and follow us and say hello, and we'll have a chat.
Yeah, so you guys, you're welcome to message them. I put their page information right here, which is Fasting the Healer Within. That's the correct name, right? And so you're welcome to contact them on their page. But I did see one question here. Someone asked, how can they lose weight, basically?
So the best way to, there's numerous ways to lose weight. Obviously, there's the train your body more and eat less. You know, that works for a lot of people. It's not the healthiest way to do it. The healthiest way to lose weight is to focus on detoxing and eliminating, because when we do that with food and some intermittent fasting and all the different tools that we have, then the body will actually eliminate the body will get rid of the fat and will start to reduce weight in a really healthy way and at a healthy speed. And that's how we make sure that we don't rebound and put all the weight back on. So it won't affect your metabolism. In fact, it will actually improve your metabolism if you focus on detox rather than just moving the body more. An example, you know, that guy I just told you about, 6 weeks into working together, he's gone down from 120.8 kilos to 107.2. And, you know, this guy, when we started, he was training 5 days a week, high intensity interval training, because he's like, I've got to train to lose the weight, right? And I was like, well, actually, for the next 8 weeks, I don't want you to do any training at all. Like, I want you to go for walks, and I just want you to focus on detoxing and eating the foods that I tell you to, and focus on detoxing through food and losing weight through food rather than doing it with training. So he hasn't trained at all, and he's lost all that weight. And, you know, we've seen all these other healing markers come down as well. So, yeah, losing weight is really actually the quickest thing you see when you detox. It's the easiest part. People struggle with it because they have hormonal imbalances and their endocrine system's out, and all of that is out because they're built up with all that waste. When you get rid of the waste, your adrenal glands are healthier, your thyroid and your metabolism becomes healthier. Everything starts to improve internally and on your physical level, and then all of a sudden the body's able to regulate weight and eliminate what it doesn't need anymore. And fat, by the way, everyone, fat is a buffer for toxicity. So the only reason we hold on to excess body fat is because the body becomes toxic. So logically, getting rid of the body fat, we need to get rid of the toxic waste.
And we do that through fasting or juicing?
Doesn't have to be fasting. Again, it goes back to what we were talking about before. The fastest way to do that is through water fasting. And then, like, you know, the fast way, the next quickest way would be juice fasting. And then the fast way, you know, the next one after that would be raw plant-based diets, fruits, intermittent fasting, and things like that. So it depends. It depends on what level you're at. You know, what you've experienced before, what your needs are. Like if you're kind of racing against the clock or something like that, maybe you're a little bit more unhealthy and you need to fix it sooner, then maybe you might go to the fastest way. But yeah, if you're just looking to do things slowly over time, which we would recommend, is take your time with it and do it properly, then you can do it with your diet, you can do it with intermittent fasting, and then, you know, have a progressive result as opposed to just diving straight into a really long water fast, you know?
So it will just be slower than the other levels.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So how's your diet like these days? What do you eat?
We're a bit different.
Yeah. I don't have, Sinclair is still like healing from some things, some like chronic pain and things like that. He's still fixing things. So he's a little bit more of a raw plant-based diet. I am, for the most part, like that. I eat a lot of fruit for most of my day, but I typically will have a cooked meal once a day, maybe once every second day at night. So I'll usually have dinner, I'll have a cooked meal. But it's all plant-based. I don't eat meat, no dairy, eggs, nothing.
Okay, so you believe that, do you think that animal products are harder to digest and they put a lot of pressure on the intestine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they put a lot of pressure on the stomach because we need hydrochloric acid to break down.
There's no fiber in it.
So they slow down digestion. They're inflammatory in themselves, so they're going to cause all the different inflammatory conditions of the bowel, IBS, Crohn's, colitis. All these different things come from a high protein diet to begin with for most people. So removing that from the diet, if you've got to heal a digestive issue, is the first thing, and then putting the foods in to nourish and to keep cleaning the digestive system is a big one. But yeah, anyone who's serious about healing themselves, you can't do it on an animal-based diet. It's impossible, in my opinion.
Yeah,
and I would argue that one to the death. Yeah. But there are people out there trying to do it. Like the guy, the first man that ever was my first mentor I ever had, super intelligent guy. He's been carnivore now for 8 months. It's been interesting watching his journey. Like his blood markers have improved, and in his eyes, he's healing. Like I look at it and I think, well, he's focusing on his blood. I would love to see what his eyes look like and see what his lymphatic system looks like, because the lymphatic system is where we hold all of our best indicators for health. That's our sewage system of the body. So it's like your home. You know, you all the waste of the body gets put into the lymphatic system for removal, and if it's not being removed, that's where it sits. So we need to look at that system of the body to see how healthy that is. Once that becomes cleaner and healthier, because it's actually removing the waste, all your blood markers are going to improve from then on, when we start properly, feeding the body properly.
Wow. Amazing, guys.
Thank you.
I think we're about to finish our live, because also my phone is about to die.
Okay. Cool. We should do this again. This is fun. We'll ask you some more questions.
Yeah, interview you next time.
Oh, sure. I will talk about food. That's what I do. Food, but actually,
awesome. We'll happily listen to you talk about food.
Huh?
I said we will happily listen to you talk about food.
Maybe we should do a mukbang or something.
Guys, yeah. Well, listening to you guys makes me not want to eat. Like, I want to fast now.
Yeah. Enjoy food. Food is meant to be enjoyed and experienced as well.
I agree. I also, like, overeating is not a good thing. So also learning how to make a good relationship with food is very important.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah.
And it's like, for anyone listening who maybe has an unhealthy relationship with food, who has disordered eating or something like that, I would be mindful of doing a longer fast. It's something that you probably want to turn your attention to, and have a healthier relationship with food before you do something like this. Because especially when you break that fast, it'll be more challenging for you than the average person, and it's challenging for the average person, like reintroducing food and things like that. So it's definitely something you'd probably want to get a handle on before you do it. And also, just a little disclaimer: we don't recommend fasting for anyone who's pregnant, or breastfeeding, or anyone who's under the age of like 20 years old, whose bodies are still developing. So you heard it here. Don't do it.
I absolutely agree, because if a pregnant woman still need to nourish her baby, so
yeah, of course, exactly.
No fasting. It's been such a great conversation, guys, and I think my followers are so happy, and I never seen so much feedback in one live video. So it's amazing. Cool. So whoever is watching, if you're interested in learning more about Sinclair and Saxon, you can go to their page, which is Fasting the Healer Within. They will answer all your questions. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Dana.
Thank you.
Have
See you later.
Day.
You too.
Thanks.
See you next time.